And we're live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Monday night chill stream. What is it? And I wasn't 100% sure I was going to do this. I'm feeling kind of wiped out because I way overdid my workout this morning and not happy with that. But because I'm gonna be dying tomorrow. Welcome to my one viewer. Welcome to the show. We got a lot of stuff going on. There's always news. It's nonstop. Today, of course, probably the biggest thing was Facebook going out and all the normies losing their minds. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. That normie people who are followers of whatever hip hop and restaurant reviews, they're completely lost. And all those people that pretend to be in touch with friends that they haven't seen in 17 years on Facebook, they were lost for a few hours. Twitter and the internet's going wild with speculation. It's a hack attack. It's China. It's this and that. It's a cover for the invasion of Taiwan, like all kind of crazy stuff. And everyone's just so hysterical these days. Like they're just so super hysterical. And then, of course, somebody posted a message on 4chan that Facebook going out is just the beginning of the entire internet being unplugged, and they're just feeding the hysteria and fear. What Facebook did or didn't do, I'm almost 100% sure, is they hired some shitty programmers, the cheap Indian programmers that did the software for the Boeing 737 Supermax airplane, and that airplane fell out of the sky, and then those guys get a job at Facebook as programmers, and they said, "Hey, do the server upgrade, Patel." And he's like, "Okay." He doesn't know how to code, and he just blew the whole thing up. So that was pretty funny. That they got knocked out. And with Facebook, you remember Mark Zuckerberg wanted to launch his own cryptocurrency. He still wants to, called Libra. You know what I mean? Can you imagine if Facebook launched a cryptocurrency? You know what I mean? And it just, I don't know, went out. You know how crazy that would be, right? Bitcoin hasn't gone down. Bitcoin network has not gone down at all in its entire lifetime. 99 point whatever percent uptime. And the reason why is because it's a decentralized network. All of Facebook's servers or whatever were in one place. One person fucked up. Bye-bye Facebook. So the single point of failure systems and you're really going to want to think this through. I make the point again and again that a decentralized approach is the best approach because it's more difficult to overcome. And then the critics are always like, well, but it can be overcome. Yeah, anything's possible, or many things are possible that we don't think are possible. But putting all your eggs in one basket and then trusting that basket to a third person, you're not going to have very much at all. Virgil Doc, Purple Heart. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the show. Hopefully, as a book not being there, but I know I was in contact with some family members, and they're like, "Oh, I got to print out all my pictures." They upload all their photos to Facebook, and they don't print them out, and they're afraid they're not going to have them. So, the digitization of your life and your memories, and again, trusting that to a third party that's with one central point of failure, that's not you're going to end up in a lot of trouble. Anyway, other than Facebook, what's going on? Bunch of stuff going on. Like I named this stream the myth of Nemesis, right? Nemesis is there's a bunch of different origin stories, but it's a Greek goddess of revenge and justice, right? Like revenge and getting. There was a goddess of good. Nemesis would come and take back what the correct amount. So and Nemesis, in a modern day term, it's like arch enemy, like the perfect enemy, the enemy you that has no obvious weaknesses that you can exploit. And there's a bunch of stuff like that going on. I don't know if you guys just saw it. I watched it. It was earlier this week, or last week, I should say. There was a heavyweight boxing match between a black dude from England named Anthony Joshua and a Ukrainian guy named Alexander Usyk. And this was one of those things where, like, a lot of people thought Joshua was the next big thing, and a lot of people thought he was overblown. And I was not a particularly Joshua fan, but this guy Usyk, who's shorter than Joshua, had to go up in a weight class to get this fight. He took this fight and he beat Anthony Joshua in a 12-round decision where they rang the bell early to save Joshua at the end of the fight. And Joshua just had no answer for this guy. This guy Usyk was faster. He's a southpaw. He's a technically brilliant boxer. He did everything right, and so he won. It very, very clearly won. He backed Joshua up the whole fight for 12 rounds, and that's not super surprising. But what I found particularly telling and made me giggle was the amount of coping in the YouTube response videos to what happened. All the trainers, all the people who were on Anthony, like, they could not understand how their guy, who was taller, had more reach, was more physically gifted, lost to a left-handed white guy. And I thought to myself, oh, if you think that's bad, wait until Fury Wilder 3 comes up, which is going to be, I think, this Saturday. The fact that the narrative, you can't have white guys being faster, technically more proficient, and a larger-than-life character in boxing and beating black guys. Like, you just can't have that. But it's happening all the time. It's happening at least in 2 cases with Usyk versus Joshua, and then certainly, if anyone doubts the outcome of Fury Wilder 3, it's going to be as bad a bloodbath as the second one, and probably worse. But struggle with the reality because it redefines their narrative in a way that they're uncomfortable with. Is going to be a lot of fun for me. You know what I mean? I read these and say, I read all these comments, and I'm very, very tickled by that. Very tickled by that. There's so much crazy stuff this week. There was Janet Yellen said she was going to tax unrealized capital gains. Right, so this is like a direct attack on Bitcoin, or a threat towards Bitcoin. It's like, if you bought Bitcoin, let's say you bought Bitcoin at $10,000, right? And now, as of this show, it's like $49,000. Janet Yellen says, "Oh, we're going to tax you on your capital gains, even if you haven't sold your Bitcoin," right? Which is like, this is how insane they are. This is how insane and desperate and out of control they are. Because, one, it's impossible, right? And two, it's impossible for 100 different reasons, but it tells you something. It reveals more than they want to reveal, because if they're telling you, we're going to tax your Bitcoin on what we think you've made, going forward in the future, one, that means the Treasury Department and Janet Yellen, and that also means the Federal Reserve, expect Bitcoin to go to the moon, right? They wouldn't say, we're going to tax you if they thought it was going to zero, right? They think it's going to $1 million. That's why they want to tax everybody. Like, oh, we're going to tax your capital gains every year. Of course, they have to give them Bitcoin. Now, it's impossible. Like I said, it's impossible to do on a number of different levels, but that's how crazy and insane and desperate they are. And it's one of those things that it's people do not. I'm trying to find some stuff here. People reveal that they don't really want to reveal. And there was a guy on Twitter found this great. They were doing hearings right before Jerome Powell retired. Of course, Jerome Powell, former head of the Federal Reserve, who it was revealed was he would buy securities like bonds and stuff. He owned the bonds that the Federal Reserve would buy to prop up the economy. Like all these guys got caught basically insider trading, and there's going to be there's never a consequence. There's never ever a consequence. But there was a hearing, and I don't remember who did what, who was questioning him. But this is one of those questions that it reveals so much more than you think. Like the question tells you more than they intend, and so right. A lot of people were celebrating the fact that Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, saying the U.S. would not ban Bitcoin. And this guy, Nico Too Toxic, on Twitter said, "My question is, why was an elected official asking an appointed official whether the U.S. would ban Bitcoin or not? That really shows you who's in charge. It shows you that the central bankers are the ones really in charge. The people you elect answer to the central bankers, And this is another one of those instances, like Janet Yellen saying we're going to tax you on unrealized capital gains. That tells you where they think Bitcoin is going. Like they think it's going to the moon, and they're going to try and tax it away from you now. They want to scare you into selling it now. So and convince you that you're just going to lose it anyway to taxes. So you might as well let it go. And this question as well. When a sitting senator asks a banker whether the banker is going to ban something or not going to ban something, it tells you none of this is super new. There's a lot of people who've known it for a long. Here's James Madison. Very similar to some other quotes should be coming up. As soon as this steam-powered it is. History records that the money changers have used every form of abuse possible to maintain their control over governments by controlling money and its issuance. That's fairly similar to the Rothschilds quote. Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws. Same. It's essentially the same observation stated differently. And this is James Madison, of course, famous founding father, whose wife invented ice cream. Right? Didn't he marry Dolly Madison, and she invented ice cream? So, if this is the guy whose wife invented ice cream, I would listen to him. You know what I mean? Especially after dinner. But but seriously, folks, talking about intrigue and this sort of thing, let's go back to my man. Where were we? This one. I think this one. Let's see what we got. See what we have. So I was talking about the Ukraine using nuclear power to mine Bitcoin, right? And so just trying to real quick. If this would just show up on the screen, that would be really convenient. It's just testing my patience and my ability to carry on while the technology. No, we're going to wait for the page. page. Well, technology does not do what I want it to do. Stop sharing. Maybe I've overloaded, which I think is what I've done. What does the cache do? Is it? Um, I don't know. Was mining Bitcoin with nuclear power, and then shortly thereafter, this little thing popped up, and I thought this was pretty telling. Again, what's telling about this? Let's see when it comes up in a minute here. All right. Come on. I thought I could switch through these more smoothly and quickly, but it never seems to work the way I want it to work. Story of my life. The story of my life. Okay, here we go. Breaking. Unknown assailants just tried to whack the Ukrainian presidential advisor, Sergei Shafir. His car was hit with gunfire on a highway near Kiev, which is their capital. Intensive care. Shafir was not hit. So this guy Shafir is best friends with the president of the Ukraine. Now, the president of the Ukraine is a Jew, and Shafir is a Jew as well. So it's amazing that these guys are not that this guy's not driving around in an armored car. But the president of the Ukraine was a reality TV star. He's like the Ukrainian Donald Trump, apparently, or he copied Trump. He went from reality TV star to president of the country. And, right after Ukraine says we're going to make Bitcoin legal and we're going to mine it using nuclear power, somebody takes a shot at his best friend. Now, the president probably has a good, but this is no coincidence. When James Madison says they will use any intrigue, deceit, or violent means, this is what he's talking about, because this story appears and then it just disappears. There's no oh, it's Russia or it's neo-Nazis, because everybody's the victim or the potential victim is Jewish. You don't hear any of that. They're not playing the Jew card in any way, shape, or form. And you got to wonder why that is. And the reason why, is obvious, because it's other Jews trying to kill him. It's not, they're not going to pass it off on Al Qaeda or the Iranians or the whatever Russian mob or trying any of that. You know what I mean? It's just, hey, there's random shooters that just happen to, try to kill the president of the Ukraine's best friend. And you know what? It's not even a story, and boop, down the memory hole it goes. And you're never going to hear about it ever again. But these guys they're playing hardball for real. And this is, Bitcoin is the nemesis of the central bankers, and in a very real way. Bitcoin really almost like a divine fashion. And I think that's pretty inevitable. Not only have our friends in the Ukraine, by the way, let me go back here. Just go back. There we go. The Ukraine is mining Bitcoin with nuclear power, but however, do not count us out, my friend, because in the Keystone State, which is the state of Pennsylvania, right? And they call it the Keystone State because the stone that the Statue of Liberty stands on, when you see that, Pennsylvania. So I saw this, and this made me pretty happy. As soon as it comes up on the screen, of course, which it doesn't seem to want to do. There we go. Zero carbon Bitcoin. The owner of a Pennsylvania nuclear plant thinks it could strike gold. Talon Energy plans to build a $400 million Bitcoin mining facility at its Pennsylvania nuclear power plant. I think this is a great opportunity to keep nuclear power plants going. Now there's two nuclear power plants that they're gonna use to mine Bitcoin in well, one's in Pennsylvania, one's in Ohio. So the race, don't see it. And if you've noticed, I don't know if you're on Twitter or anyone else, nobody even bothers. Hey, where did that go? It just vanished. I didn't click on anything. The old it's tulip mania, like it's tulip mania. El Salvador decided to make it its national currency. All that bullshit talk of, oh, it's tulip mania, it's tulip mania. With the Ukraine mining Bitcoin using nuclear power, and now America mining Bitcoin using nuclear power. This is big. This is really, really big. The fact that people don't seem to want to notice it is here we go, is some sort of bias you have, or some sort of flaw in your thinking. Wait a minute, no, wait, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted this one. What did that? Uh-oh. Come on. Do what I want you to do, you rat. It's not doing what I wanted to do. It's not doing what I wanted to do. Or did I mislabel these? This, I hate this boomer tech of this show. This is really a disaster. Doesn't want to do anything I want it to do now. Okay, well, they made it illegal, but they just turned around and said, no, well, you know what? We're in the game as well. So you got the Ukraine, you got Iran, you got El Salvador. There's a rumor that Brazil is about to make Bitcoin legal tender in Brazil, and Brazil is like 30 times bigger than El Salvador. Nation states are moving into this. Not kidding you. The race for global dominance is on, and hopefully America can. I hate to say it because I don't want to sound like a patriotard, but America needs to be in this game because we don't want to lose to the freaking Iranians or the Brazilians. I don't think we will. I think we'll get our act together. But nuclear power in New York City, there was for decades up north of New York City on the Hudson River, a nuclear power plant called Indian Point, and on what date in April, and it provided 25% of the electricity for all of New York City. New York City's 8 million people. You know what I mean? Plus the surrounding areas, like another 14 million. They just cut that off, and like right before summer hit, and of course they were like rolling power outages throughout the city. Like unsurprisingly, as soon as the warm weather hit, like a month later, when May came and everybody started flipping on their air conditioners in the city, boom, 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 blackouts and rolling power outages all over the city. Like, how could you fail to see that? But nuclear power bad, and the attempts to strangle nuclear power are very, very, very deliberate. And Bitcoin and nukes are probably the ultimate combination, because you can't have an advanced civilization without electricity. You can't have the wealthiest and most advanced civilizations use the most electricity. Okay. All the backwards ass places on the earth do not have electricity, or they only have it part time. Like they'll run the generators in the daytime, but they don't have natural light to see what the instruments are telling them. They'll never be able to get the thing started again. You actually hear crazy stories like that. So, okay, that's doing, I don't know what this is doing. This is just not at all doing what I want. Oh fuck! I have so many more things to do. So many more things to do. And then anyway, so it's not going to let me screen share. The other thing was stories coming out that Bitcoin is the currency of the alt right, and they showed pictures of Richard Spencer and Nick Fuentes, the two fucking glow in the dark of glow in the darks, you know, and how Richard Spencer has received $9 million worth of contributions in Bitcoin over the last 5 years or something. Which how they know this? There's no way they fucking know this. They're pulling that number out of their ass. Judas Flychild, welcome to the show. They don't know how much money Richard Spencer or the alt-right got in Bitcoin or anything. They're just making that up. Okay. There was at least 3 stories about that. And you got to remember, Spencer's not our guy. Spencer's the guy who said Bitcoin was going to drop to 20,000 and blah, 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 and stay away from it, you know. And that was back in May, you know. Shape or form, not our guy. But they want to make him, you know, the boogeyman of boogeyman. And what can I do to make this under my control again? Nothing, right? What is that? Can I do anything? What if I? Yeah. Oh, that's so frustrating. But listen, this is the way it is. When they're, you know, we're going to tax you on unrealized capital gains. You know what I mean? We're just going to tax away from you before you even get it. You know, when the elected officials are asking the bankers, "Are you going to ban Bitcoin? Are you not going to ban Bitcoin?" You know, they think about if Facebook would have gone through with their cryptocurrency that they call Libra, right, or Freedom. You know, I mean, can you imagine? You know, and it would have been super successful, right? Well, let's say the way Zuckerberg wanted it to be, and you just woke up one day and your crypto was gone, all your money was gone. Like that's what they're going to do. And Facebook is ahead of the Federal Reserve, central bank digital currencies are way tons of years off. They're at least 5 years off, and they're going to go about as good as Facebook is going because they're going to hire the same $9 an hour Bangladeshi software coders, and they're going to tell them to make their digital currency woke. You know what I mean? They're gonna have to bake wokeness and anti-whiteness into every digital dollar or digital euro that they produce. You know, so and in order, like the list of things to make a crypto is probably like insane, but to add wokeness, guaranteed fucking disaster. Guaranteed disaster. Up in every way, it could be a clusterfuck. It's going to be a clusterfuck. And in the meantime, the real economy is going to overheat and hyperinflate, and you know, Bitcoin's just going to go higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And this okay. Now I'm going to just close that tab. Just going to close that tab entirely, and then Zed Des, the book Nemesis. No, the Greek myth. Zed, welcome to the show. You were messing around with the poll and stuff, talking about what was it about? Being upset about girl jokes, misogyny jokes, misogyny, and white supremacy and anti-Semitism all go hand in hand with free speech. There's no way to avoid it. So now I have to remember what the hell I was because I had all these stupid things lined up in Gmail that I was gonna show you, and that was gonna lead me to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next. Throughout this COVID situation, they keep showing Bill Gates as an evil person, right? And I want to say up front as clearly as I can, Bill Gates is not our guy. He's not a good guy. Bill Gates is for Bill Gates entirely, and he is a super elite from the billionaire class. However, Microsoft, okay, Microsoft software. If you remember, I'm doing this on a Microsoft laptop. Everybody's used a Microsoft product. Before you started Windows, from like Windows 95 onwards, you had to put in your license key, right? and Microsoft licenses its software to each individual. Their business model is you can use our super Microsoft Windows software if you pay for a license. So they have a license per user. You understand? And some engineers at Microsoft are trying to work for something that works with business model. Whereas Facebook, right, they tried to launch their own crypto, and you could see how well that worked. They just blew up their own fucking site. And Google doesn't like Bitcoin either. So the demonization of Bill Gates, okay, is being done by Facebook and Google. Okay, you got to remember, Microsoft backed the 4 different companies. But Facebook, which completely dominates the social media landscape, right, is not subject to antitrust. Nobody's talking about antitrust legislation to break Facebook up into 4 different companies, right? There's no, that's not going to happen. And Google is 90+% of the search market, but there's no talk of Google being broken up, into 6 smaller companies to give somebody else a chance, right? Dayway, hey Dayway, welcome back for like the 3rd or 4th week. Capturing carbon emissions to power computers that mine TC is what you predict. Carbon emissions, we're talking about electrons, son. We're talking about nuclear power. Ukrainian nukes, American nukes. Pennsylvania company with 2 reactors going to spend $400 million. Pennsylvania and Ohio, and there's other miners that have signed like 5-year contracts with these guys to get their power, because nuclear power plants produce enormous amounts of electricity that they can never sell. The whole thing about nuclear power and how that's been shut down in America deliberately by the money men, by the bankers, because if we had nukes like we should, everyone would have like a $2 a month electric bill. And you could have as much electricity to do whatever you want. Like everybody could have a Tesla car, and there could be charging stations every 10 feet. You know what I mean? And you could have literally as much electricity as you wanted. Everything would be electric powered, and it would still only cost you. The reason why we don't have this is because nuclear power has been killed. And things like, even these millennials don't get it. Like when I was a kid, there was a bunch of anti-propaganda movies. There was anti-nuke propaganda movies. There was Silkwood, right, with which was supposedly some junkie female working in the nuke power plant. They had, who was the one they said the greatest actress ever? The one, not Glenn Close. I can't remember. There was. I'm having a flying nuclear powered. Yeah, I would love to have a flying nuclear powered robot car. You know what I mean? Everybody would. It would make my job so much easier. I could deliver boxes so much faster with a nuclear powered flying robot car. And I could just, I could do streams, I wouldn't even have to look because the robot would fly the car, and I would have to, and I could do what I want. And there's a bunch of stuff on nuclear power that I've been looking at. That's very, very. If you think you've been psyoped on, on history or on like how the economy works or why things happen, yeah, you've been psyoped on nuclear power, big time. So the industry is almost dead. Like I said, they shut down Indian Point, north of New York City. North America's largest city, and a nuclear power plant with 0, 3 Mile Island. They made a big deal out of it. Was nothing, out on Long Island, which we call Long Island, it's called Shoreham, and it was going to supply nuclear power to all of Long Island, and they shut it down before it even opened. You know what I mean? And it was mothballed, but they test fired it once and then shut it down, and that's it. And Long Island has paid the highest electrical rates in America for the last, since Yes, Zed Des in the chat. We're not getting flying cars. We're not getting anything we promised. Um, Meryl Streep. There you go. Thank you, Virgil Doc, hitting IMDb to come in with the save. Yeah, Meryl Streep was played Karen Silkwood in a movie that was promoted as like it was a film of the year, you know, and they really pushed this stuff. And you know, they made out like she was some, you know, just like truth teller woman who was exposing whatever wrongdoings of the nuclear power plant she worked at. And you know, it was. I haven't seen the film in a while. I'd like to see it again. She was a woman who was known to have drug and alcohol problems, like a single woman, no kids, whatever. She was in some kind of weird. Was she in some kind of weird lesbian relationship or something like that? They implied. I can't remember. I saw the film a long time ago. But you know, she crashed her car. She was driving drunk because she was taking benzos or something like that. So, you know, and of course, you know, all the 70s films, every 70s films is like a secret agent, super fucking assassin thing. It's power people hired assassins. I don't know from what, like assassins.com, which didn't even exist back then, but you know, and they just got somebody to push her off the road at high speed in her car. Like, it's so fucking stupid, you know what I mean? But people buy into that, you know what I mean? They completely buy into like, yeah, this mentally unstable drug person, you know, screamed at the top of their lungs and then injured themselves or got killed. Like, you know, the one that just croaked in Spanish prison, John McAfee. Like, oh, you know, they had McAfee whacked. Why? Why would you do that? He was a super rich guy who became a drug addict and spent all his money, was absolutely fucking broke, was running from, you know, to tax prison in America. Wife left him. Everybody left him. He's in prison. And you know what? He killed himself. He's a 75-year-old guy who's broke and doesn't want to face life in American prison. You know, that's not that's a very reasonable reason to kill yourself. The idea that they reached into the, you know, they have their secret ways to convince some prison guard to kill a guy. Like, you know, it just, you know, I understand this is a dramatic, sexy way to think about things, but it's just, it always turns out to be shit. It's never true. And John McAfee's dead man switch that was going to reveal everything, you know, it's all bullshit. They never have that. You know what I mean? You're listening to the ravings of a 75-year-old drug addict, you know, and you're accepting that honest, that the government is not honest, but you're listening to two different dishonest actors with two different agendas. You know what I mean? And you're trying to pick which one is less dishonest. You know, forget all that stuff. Like, just forget that stuff, because it doesn't happen that way. You know what I mean? Jessica, what Cuchalongo? Welcome to the show. Like Jessica Savage. I don't know who Jessica Savage is, what her story is, but maybe was she a nuclear plant worker? And you know, are there accidents? Yeah, but you know, where are these children with six toes and webbed fingers? Like, where are they? You know, where? Oh my God, 3 Mile Island, it's the worst thing, you know, but nothing happens. The hysteria and the millennials, if you're a millennial, I don't know who's in the in the audience, how old you are, but The Simpsons is the most anti-nuclear power propaganda you've ever seen. Homer Simpson's an idiot. He works at the nuclear power plant. You know, there's a three-eyed fish swimming in the pond, right? Mr. Smithers is an evil bastard who's, you know, an awful oligarch. You always see that nuclear plant with the with the atomic symbol there, and you know, look at these, like, it's so anti-nuclear that's been just every week beamed into your, you know, Simpsons. Yeah, well, everything you watch, whether you think you buy into it or don't buy into it, sticks in your head and influences you whether you like it or not. So, Like those normie conservatives that go, I don't believe the liberal media. I don't trust the liberal media. You see that on bumper stickers and shit. Doesn't matter if you trust them, you don't trust them. If you're watching, that's it. You're being influenced. You know what I mean? If the only way you're not influenced is if you don't consume that stuff, right? If you don't see it, you're not influenced by it. Okay. No one has the mental resources 24/7 to push back against this fucking tidal wave that they drown you in of fucking propaganda. Every channel, the same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing. You just, no one can do that. You can't do that all day, every day, 24/7. You just can't. So if you're looking at it at all, you're being influenced by it, whether you believe it or you don't believe in you. You know what I mean? The only way you free yourself from it is to actually free yourself from it. And the more of other people's media or viewpoints you consume, the less you think for yourself. You know what I mean? That's something I noticed for me. Like there's a bunch of people I unfollowed on Twitter and stuff. I don't even pay attention to anymore because I end up looking at what other people are saying and doing like this. Like, what am I just gonna do? Repeat what other people said, or am I gonna say what I think is important? And ultimately that's where I am now. So I'm gonna say what I think is important. Put things together. Hopefully, be a little bit entertaining. Hopefully, maybe focus you on what's important, and noticing that, they wouldn't threaten to tax your Bitcoin in the future if they thought it was going down. You know what I mean? Nation states like El Salvador, like Iran, like Ukraine, they wouldn't be putting enormous if they didn't think, hey, this thing's got a real fucking future. And that is the tell, And when they say Bitcoin is the currency of the alt-right, half the people in this audience are alt-right or were alt-right, and you are as anti-Bitcoin as the fucking day is long. Richard Spencer, the supposed king of the alt-right, is as fucking anti-Bitcoin as the fucking day is long. So, the people are trying to make you think a certain way about this thing. And well, whether they're trying to work you or trying to work normies, you know what? It have a greater effect on normies, but you guys don't pick up on this fast enough. Like, you just don't pick up on this fast enough. Richard Spencer is a homosexual CIA agent, okay, who, if it wasn't for bariatric surgery and testosterone replacement therapy, would be the fucking white Oprah Winfrey. Okay, that's all he fucking is. He's the fucking white. He would be a white Oprah Winfrey. He'd be as fat as fucking Oprah Winfrey. Fucking IQ was hard, He feeds everybody to fucking Zog. That's one of the things that always frustrated me. You people think you're so high IQ, but I know guys who really are D's and Do's kind of guys who went away like fucking double digit prison stretches for fucking for bank robbery, that are smart enough to know that if there's 5 guys and 4 of them get arrested and one of them doesn't, and that happens again and again and again, like that one guy who doesn't get arrested is, he's the rat, he's the problem. You know what I mean? Everyone around Richard Spencer or Nick Fuentes gets struck by lightning. Their lives get destroyed. They go to jail, and none of you motherfuckers notice that. Like, you're like, oh, wow, it's just bad luck. They never get the central character, but they always get everyone around him. And you refuse to see that. Okay. And I don't know why you have to do this. Like that kid, Mephistopheles Ghost, who hasn't been around, is probably in a book. He used to fucking hump Richard Spencer's leg like nobody's business. And everybody tried to warn him off. And right up until the fucking Spencer went full on riding with Biden, and I actually downloaded. I had that great picture. Maybe I'll show it next week because this is still not going to work for me. Maybe it will work for me. The picture of Spencer with his Jewish Yenta handler, You know what I mean? In front of the gay pride flag. You know, that was his new girlfriend after he divorced his wife and abandoned his child. You know, um, it's not Gmail's not just not working for me today. Not we're not going to get what we want. So like and when you like you when you're white knighting, like white knighting, constantly white knighting, like nobody in this audience, nobody I know would fucking cross the street to save my life. I honest to God, you fucking wouldn't. Like you wouldn't spit on me if I was on fire. You know what I'm talking about? But okay, so that's the way it is. That I accept that. All right. And you're like, well, he can handle himself. He's a resourceful guy. That's all true. But nobody makes excuses for me. But when you're making excuses for these people and all of their fucking failure, do you not understand that they're just not that into you? You're not. You're living in the dream world, right? You shouldn't be making excuses. When Richard Spencer was a thing in 2017, Bitcoin was $650. $650. That was in 2017. And now it's $49,000. The first time China banned Bitcoin was in 2013. Bitcoin was like $1,300. China just banned Bitcoin last week when Bitcoin was $40,000. I wish China would ban Bitcoin. You claim to be able to notice patterns, but you don't notice patterns in your own behavior and the failures of the people that they dangle in front of you as the leaders of the dissident, blah, 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 blah. And I'm over on Gab, where I'm still over on Gab. The quickest way to shut down a right winger is to talk about fucking money. To shut you the fuck up, and you will fucking tuck your tail between your fucking legs and run for the fucking hills. Talk about money, talk about economics. You motherfuckers punk out faster than you can say that be racist. It's a fair question for me to ask, and I could ask it every week, and none of you guys would have the gumption to fucking answer the question. How are you going to make meaningful change? Central bankers, whether you think it's Zog or you don't think it's Zog, whatever, the small hats, or you think it's a mix of small hats and elite whites, I don't even care. Like, that doesn't even matter. There's one corporation that controls the entire economic destiny, certainly of this country and probably of the world. As long as they're in charge, that they still exist, that they still make the money of the United States, what do you think you can change? What change do you think can occur? Because any movement, any rhetorical, it's going to be Trump, it's going to be fucking Ron DeSantis, it's going to be Obama, it's going to be Clinton, whatever, Listen, other people behind the scenes are going to decide what happens or what doesn't happen, who rises and who falls. And if anything, and mind you, half of you people are fucking mentally ill. Like 28% are like admittedly mentally ill. If you could actually gain traction and start getting anywhere, they'll send someone into your little organization or your movement to fucking blow it up. It's you're not going to change anything until you change the money. You don't have the guts to even talk about it. You know what I mean? You really don't. And that's your absolute weakness. And that's why I stopped talking about most of this political stuff, and I realized it's all completely a fucking joke. You keep waiting for somebody to come and fucking rescue you. Nobody's coming to rescue you. No one is coming to rescue you. Okay? And what the future is going to look like is going to be people who can actually do shit. Okay? You're going to actually have to be able to do stuff. You're going to have to take responsibility when you fuck up. But that's not a lot of fun. It's much more fun imagining that you're in some sort of fucking, enormous battle for control of something. Man, like you're fucking less than nothing. Like nobody even. Oh, the people that are building the future are Bitcoin people. And what that's going to look like is going to be very, very different in a lot of different places. Real autonomy, real sovereignty will be possible. Okay. But then you're going to have to fucking build it. Surprise, surprise, shit's not going to, it's not going to fall out of the fucking sky like right into your hand. There's some kind of fucking Chinese. There's some kind of Chinese saying, like a Chinese. It's like generic Chinese wisdom that says you have to sit in a chair for a very long time with your mouth open, waiting for a roasted duck to fly in. Right, which means nobody gets the roasted duck. Right, you're not. Peking duck is not going to become roasted and fly through the air right into. And right now, it's fun to imagine you could build whatever fucking Whitopia or fucking White Wakanda you think you want to fucking build because you're a million miles away from it. But you're going to get closer to it, closer and closer and closer to it as the current system fails. And then, then you're going to have to put up or shut up. And I'm pretty sure most of you are going to shut up. You know what I mean? I remember watching that. What's that movie? LA 92 about the LA riots. Brilliant fucking film. You should watch it. It's all just news clips of the riots from LA. And back then, welfare was still done with checks. It was still in the middle of the riots. Everybody stopped rioting and lined up at the welfare office to get their checks. Like you can see just a line of people, all orderly, all these blacks that were looting and rioting and fucking smashing Reginald Denny in the head when they pulled him out of his fucking truck. All of those, but they just waiting there for their little fucking slip of fucking paper, so they could get their welfare check. So the fact that people who were absolutely out of control for days and days and days can turn on a fucking is completely lost on you. But again, who controls the resources? The way to get those resources, you have to be quiet and wait online at the welfare office. And that's what they did. Okay? Because incentive to get resources is what drives behavior. And because you can't see it, Claire Carr, you are smarter than Spencer. I would say the average golden retriever is smarter than Richard Spencer. But Richard Spencer has a job with the Central Intelligence Agency, and you do not, young lady. I think they keep dragging him out because, like, you can't get a pension after, like, you got to work for the CIA for 20 years to get a fucking pension. They're not giving you a pension after, like, 4 fucking years. So they got to keep dragging this fucking douchebag out and making him do stuff in order to get that fucking pension because, you can't do 2 rallies and get pepper sprayed once and then kick back and get a fucking check from fucking Langley until you're fucking 85 years old. They're going to make you produce a little more. They're going to make you produce quite a bit more. So if they're going to make you the Bitcoin boogeyman now, oh no, Bitcoin, it's the currency of the alt-right. Listen, the alt-right doesn't even know. You don't even know what this. You don't know what it is. You're not into it. You're not going to learn about it. You're not going to learn to self-custody your own money. You're not going to take that level of responsibility. You're all waiting for Jesus to come down from the mountain, whether it's or whatever. You're all waiting for somebody else to come fucking save you. Mentally, your children don't make decisions. Decisions are made for you. Until you mature and you're thinking that you're going to take responsibility and control of your future, well, then you're going to be chasing the next leader and the next leader and the next political movement and whatever. And then sooner or later, that's going to become boring, and you're going to be on fucking Instagram doing tuna fish sandwich reviews. You know what I mean, or something like that. That's what's going to happen to you. So the future belongs to those. Plan, which you guys do not. Claire Carr has a plan, which is be even more slavish to the Jews. Not a plan that sells real well in these circles. You know what I mean? You would do better with that, like in the middle of America, evangelical America. You would do better with that crowd, but that crowd is. They're not. I don't think that they've been programmed in the last 20 years to hate them Muslims knock down the towers in New York. And those motherfuckers always hated New York. They woke up every morning hating New York. They go to sleep every night hating New York. But they're going to use 9/11 as an excuse to hate Muslims because, that's because they threaten God's chosen people. Who shoot at each other all the time. You know what I mean? They will, like I posted earlier in the show, the best friend of the president of the Ukraine, who's Jewish, there was this, and this happened. This assassination attempt happened amazingly a week after they made Bitcoin legal and said they're going to mine Bitcoin using nuclear power. What a fucking coincidence, huh? But there are obvious connections there that make sense. If you threaten the world economic order, and Bitcoin does, they're going to try and use all their old tricks, but it isn't really going to work because you cannot attack in every direction at once. It simply can't be done. This is why Bitcoin is the nemesis for the US dollar, for the central bankers. It is the perfect enemy, the enemy that there has no obvious flaw that they can exploit. So they got to give. It's only for drug dealers and terrorists. They don't do that anymore. It's tulip mania. They don't do that anymore. They have no new narratives, and the Facebook thing today was just perfect example. If you trust a third party with your Facebook data, they'll fuck it up because they will hire a $9 an hour programmer from Bangladesh who's going to click the wrong button and wipe everything out. Now, Facebook managed to recover. I think they're back up and running again. But can you imagine if they were in charge of global finance? Like all the central banks, the Federal Reserve, the ECB, and the Chinese, they want to make what's called a CBDC, central bank digital currency, right? They get rid of all the banks. This will make the idiot communist leftists happy. Oh, we're going to get rid of the banks. And they're going to be like, yay, it's Karl Marx's dream. These fucking idiots. They have no idea. There will be no more private bankers. And they will decide that you've used too much carbon, you spent too much money on, meat or something like that, or something they don't want you to have. You made the wrong post on Facebook or whatever, some social media platform. You said the wrong thing to the wrong person, and now we're going to cut off your money. That's if they can keep the money up and running, because the money's just going to go out everywhere, and then they're going to be super fucked. But these great fun adventures are in the future. They're still using mostly paper now, and they're still using these promissory notes. So, but this is a rickety old shitty fucking system that's getting its clock cleaned on a daily basis by Bitcoin. And it's watching them try to compete while trying to hold China down, while trying to keep Russia from doing whatever Russia wants to do, is really, really interesting. And like I saw a chart of natural gas prices in Europe. They're like through the roof. They went up like 300%. Okay. So if you hurt the economy of Europe, whatever the Europeans buy or produce, they're not going to have as much money to buy or produce. And global GDP, because Lord knows we all worship GDP, right? GDP. When global GDP goes down because the Europeans are just trying to cook their food and heat their homes, they don't have any money left over. What's going to happen there? The repercussions are going to be big. China's going to be producing things that nobody wants to buy. Where they're going to even store them? They didn't have the place. And then American money getting weaker and weaker and weaker. We can't. Credit scores being blown out. We can't even buy this crap anymore. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And who they're going to point the finger at, what boogeyman, whatever. The longer you stay in their system, which is corrupt and insane and absolutely doomed to failure, nobody thinks this is going to work. Nobody thinks we're going to build back better, right? That's stupid. Everybody says that. The Australians say that. Biden says. Whoever tells them to say this shit, which is who? The central bankers. which is the Rothschilds, which is the Warbirds, which is the Schiffs, right? You know, they tell them what to fucking say, and they fucking say it. Nobody believes this is going to work at all. Like, nobody believes that. You could argue that the Trumpsters were the last of the like true believer types. You know what I mean? There were Obama people that really believed that Obama was going to change shit. You know, before that, there were some Clintonistas that really thought that they were going to change shit. But nobody at this point, nobody believes a fucking, like, there's nobody that thinks that Joe Biden is going to do anything. Everybody's there to get as much money as they can, or get a position that they can use to sell out, to become a lobbyist, to work for General Dynamics, to work for whatever. It's all about positioning yourself to take advantage, to make as much as you can. Nobody fucking believes in anything anymore. There are no more true believers at all. Everybody knows it's a fucking scam, and everybody's trying to get the most they can get. You know, how long can it last? I don't think very long. But it's going to, if you don't expect it and you don't understand why it's happening, you're going to get caught up in a lot of dumb shit, and whatever. You will be whatever. You're a ship without a fucking rudder. You know, and anybody that thinks, well, Bitcoin's not the answer. Well, what is that? Okay, if how will you get? What mechanism will you use to restrain the lunatics at the central banks? Because all 84 of the world's central banks are all printing money like crazy, all of them. How will you get them to stop? Because the more money they print, the less value each dollar or yen or ruble has. So they're stealing from you. You have to work longer and make less to live on less. So how do you get them to stop? Who's going to stop them? You're going to elect one of their puppets to arrest them? That's not going to stop. You got two answers. Nobody, or Jesus is going to come back and he's going to take the whip and he's going to whip the money changers, or whatever fucking religious fantasy you have. That ain't going to happen, all right? This is not a spiritual battle of the demiurge, of the forces of light and darkness. It's none of that fucking shit. This is a fucking very real earthly battle over control of what is money and who is in charge of it. That's what it is. We have the newest, best technology ever created by mankind ever. The hardest money, the most difficult to confiscate, and it's going to transform things like Ukraine, America, El Salvador, Brazil is probably going to come next. Nation states are racing to adopt this. Okay, if you don't think that that's significant, it is significant, because all these people, they listen. They know how rigged the fucking game is. They know it's all fucking bullshit, you know. And they don't want to be left without a chair when the fucking music stops. They do not want to be left without a chair when the music stops. So what I decided to do was take that idea and put it out in front of the people that at least that I can influence. And it largely doesn't work. You know what I mean? Which I find super frustrating, but whatever. I'm going to try and have as much fun as I can and keep the best sense of humor I have about it as I can, and just keep saying the same stuff. You know what I mean? And we'll see where it goes. Wow, look at this, 6 viewers. If I keep these things short, if I make these short, people like 50 people watch. If I make it too, I absolutely fucking overdid my workout today, and I'm like, I'm gonna be dying tomorrow. And the only thing that's keeping me going is like a little bit of alcohol is fucking making me forget how much everything hurts right now, which is both a plus and a minus. Well, the plus is I don't have that much left, so that's a big plus. But the minus, of course, is that tomorrow I'm going to be dying. But since my screen shares don't work anymore, yeah, what else? I don't know. I pretty much covered everything I want to cover, because, like I said, I want to make this as compressed as I can make it, because, you know, most people don't want to spend 3 hours. I don't even want to spend 3 hours doing this, you know. Be and not do, right? When events start moving, like they're moving now, what are you going to do about Australia? Nothing, right? What are you going to do about like what's happening in Europe, in Italy? They're going to do, wherever there's the most resistance, they're going to crank down as much as they can. And it's all going to be financial. It's all going to do with shut off your bank account. We're not going to let you do this. We're not going to let you do that. Understand that's their method of control. Plain and simple. You can't leave your house. You can't go buy food. You can't do this. You can't do that. All right. Right now they're throwing you in prison, but pretty soon they'll take your fucking house. They'll seize your bank account. It is as plain as the nose on your face, but you have to be an adult. You have to look at this reality and then make plans to deal with it. My plan: get the fuck out of their system as much as I possibly can. Use an alternative system of value that they don't control and they can't stop. That, but you're going to make your own decisions. And most people, since they don't feel the pressure or they don't see it, they're going to keep going the way they're going. But and then when it moves, you're going to wish you acted earlier. Like I said last week, I'm not trying to sell you on Bitcoin. You will buy fucking Bitcoin. You know what I mean? The question is, will you buy $50,000 Bitcoin or will you buy five? Right now, because every Bitcoin can be broken up into 100 million pieces, right? Called Satoshis. You can get 2,000 Satoshis for $1. But, a year from now, you might only be able to get 500. You know what I mean? 5 years from now, you might only be able to get 100. You know what I mean? And then that's, for $1 or a pound or whatever, or a euro. And life is going to be very, very different. And you're going to have no one to blame except yourself. I suggest you do it now while things are still favorable to you. But you don't have to. Like I said, when the Chinese first banned Bitcoin and banned Bitcoin again last week, and Bitcoin is $49,000. Do you fucking see how this works? Do you get what authoritarians do versus what Bitcoin does? Does it start to make sense to you? Maybe not. Anyway, 10:43. I'm going like an hour. I'm gonna thank you guys for all showing up. And you're like, this is a better shirt. This is a better shirt than the one where I look like a walking QR code. But which actually doesn't look. It looks terrible on this camera, but it actually looks better in real life. Anyway, my fashion choices. I was never a fashionista in my life, but this is a better choice for me. Anyway, guys, thanks for showing up. I'm not going to. I'm going to try and see if I can find a crappy music to play myself out. Week, maybe Google will go down. Maybe some other fun stuff will definitely happen. But we will definitely. We're going to enjoy the rest of this year regardless. All right. Good night, everybody.